The Patreon pick, as requested by Top Bot on Patreon, thank you for the request, was the 2022 film Shin Ultraman. And of course, if you also want to get your Patreon, or I guess movie request, put in our Patreon queue, you can go to guapish.com/Patreon or patreon.com/Guapish, dealer's choice here. And you can pay $1 a month and get a movie in the queue each month, and we'll eventually watch it, like Tutbot did this month.
And I suppose I can go ahead and give the little plot synopsis for this film. So, Shin Ultraman is the story of Ultraman, one of Japan's biggest tokusatsu properties, as he fights various monsters of the week, like an evil bedsheet, guy who did nothing wrong, and the shadow to his Sonic the Hedgehog. Personally, I think that this movie was a riot. Tanner, what's your fun fact?
Fun fact, the filmmakers used frames from the OG series as storyboards.
I could buy it.
Was this a show?
Yeah, it was a big show, Dylan. It was a big-time tokusatsu show. Dylan, what'd you rank this film?
B+.
Honestly, that's higher than I expected for you. I'm giving it a B-.
I'm in between you guys at a flat B.
Tokusatsu is my favorite ramen topping. I gave a flat B as well.
There we go.
Holy smokes. I guess we're all in the same boat here, I guess.
All in the same-ish area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This movie reminded me a lot of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
If I'm being quite frank.
Because there was a big man in it fighting monsters.
Not only that, but also just like the movement, and also the CGI wasn't good. The acting was okay.
It was fine.
I think the sporadic camera shots also didn't help it at all. More so leaning towards the beginning, like they were just constantly doing camera cuts, and I thought that was like disorienting and bad. I don't know. It was fine. I thought the plot was okay. It was kind of whatever.
Additional fun fact that I forgot to mention previously, this film was directed by Hideaki Anno, the creator of a little-known show called Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Holy smokes.
Holy cow. Dude, so my big positives for this film were the score, which I thought was really good. I liked how much this film felt like a throwback to like 50s style like kaiju movies.
Oh yeah.
And then the creature design I really liked.
The creatures were really fucking badass. Like, just like that first big one they were fighting where it was just like a bunch of fucking drills.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the drill one was fucking sweet.
Yeah, just like the fighting in general, I had a lot of fun with. Just like, like that first big fight with Ultraman and that dang old monster where he just like does his Ultra Beam and it just fucking obliterates everything. That shit was fire. Oh my god.
That was pretty good.
And then the next fight where he just like he fucking launches and flies through the air and then comes down, but he doesn't like, you know, do like a big superhero landing like we're all very used to. It's like he just flies vertically down, like he's still in a flying pose, and he just like sits there and then does a fucking backwards spin and just launches the monster.
Yeah, I don't.
He turned himself into a fucking foosball, dude.
Dude, I thought it was pretty good. That was just so jarring to me. I am neither here nor there on that. That, quite frankly, the flying is kind of what put me off from this movie a little bit, if I'm being completely honest. But, like I said, it was fine.
My biggest negative was just, I thought the plot was kind of messy and runs out of steam. Mostly what I'm referring to is because, like, we start off and it's like, okay, the threat is kaijus, and then we drop that entirely and we're like, okay, the threat is this alien Zakub, or Yakub, or whatever, Zarub, whatever.
Yeah.
And then that just ends and it's an entirely unrelated alien is now the threat. I wish they either stuck with kaiju the whole time or went kaiju into the end threat and didn't have the awkward Zarub one in between.
Yeah, like I said, it feels very Monster of the Week, the way that this film is framed.
The unfortunate thing about this movie, too, is it's definitely, like, sequel bait. Like, this is setting up a universe. It's giving people context as to what Ultraman is and kind of what the whole universe is about. It sets him up as a character, too, with, like, the very final scene. And, yeah, it feels like we're watching like a prequel movie before the actual first movie comes out.
Right. Call me a fucking fanboy, but I was expecting Godzilla to show up at some point. I'm kind of glad he didn't, because that would have been a whole can of worms that I didn't want to get into.
That would have been pretty awesome, though. Honestly, my biggest issue with this film is exactly the same as all the MonsterVerse films. I wish there were less humans talking and more fighting.
I don't know. I feel like it lose steam really quickly in that sense, and that's just
There's
me personally.
just so much fucking talking in this film, though.
I'll agree with you. I do think that at a certain point in these monster movies, there is just so much human interaction and talking. But I don't think, and I don't think this is what you're saying, but I don't think it should be exclusively monsters fighting. I think that would, like I said, lose steam very quickly.
Personally, I was actually kind of a fan of the political drama thing they're going on. I think the shenanigans of the various aliens trying to get shit over on the humans was fun. I definitely think it is pretty slow and definitely gets boring at times, but I was pretty engaged throughout most of it, I would say, with some lulls throughout it. It's just a very quirky little movie. It was not what I expected at all. And I do appreciate, like with a lot of movies that do this, the aliens feeling very alien. They act very differently from humans. They are doing all sorts of weird shit with gravity we can't comprehend. Their whole fighting style is very strange. Their designs are super fucking ridiculous. Like one of them's like a weird sheet of paper. They've got this super fucking wacky space laser bullshit that like blows up a fucking solar system. All this crazy shit. I kind of fuck with that. I think it's interesting world building. Unfortunately, it does suffer from the fact that it's like all this cool world building, but who cares when none of it's like particularly relevant to the movie. It's going to be relevant to the shit that happens after the movie. Unfortunate symptom of what this is trying to be.
I was really hoping this movie wasn't a more recent movie. When I heard just now that it was 2022, I think that shocked me a little more knowing that based on what I've said.
I mean, you know, they're very much so trying to evoke the feeling of much older sources of media here, so it makes sense that it doesn't look as, like, polished as something more modern like the MonsterVerse films do.
That's fine. And, like, I can at least appreciate that. If that's the vibe they were going for, it didn't look that bad. I figured it was like an ode, because I was like, I'm getting a lot of like old like Godzilla 50s vibes from this media right now. They're just trying to gussy it up or something, I don't know.
Going back to the fights here real quick though, like, I loved the fights. I was a big fan of it. I liked when Ultraman appeared and fucked shit up, but like, especially for like, that first big old alien Zakub or whatever the fuck his name was, they're fighting for a little bit and I'm ready for like some cool ass action, but then he just throws a buzzsaw at it and immediately dies. That's just the end of the fight.
That shit was hilarious.
Yeah, I was like, why the fuck would his Ultra Beam not be super effective, but he's got some random attack he could pull off in half the time and it does double the damage?
Because he's Ultraman, he underestimated him. He didn't want that engagement to happen because he knew he'd lose, and he did, quickly.
I thought a little bit of a plot hole, maybe it's not a plot hole, maybe it's just me hoping for something better, is when they're like, you have limited energy because you fuse with human. I mean, I kind of get it, but like, it's not like he sacrificed half of his being, he just added his being to another being, so he shouldn't have limited power.
It diluted him, Dylan.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I was kind of whatever on that. It did kind of bother me, but, you know.
Yeah, the one thing with this movie that kind of sucks about, and it's like part of the root problem with it, is that I do think a lot of the world building is interesting. Like, I like the idea that the human race is such a unique species for these aliens that can just be used as like mass biological weapons, and they don't want people to do that, so that's why they plan on blowing it up. I think that's very interesting. And I think it's a cool setup for the end of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't pay off at all. Yeah. But there's a lot of things like that where there's like cool, interesting world building, but like it doesn't really matter in the context of the movie. So it's kind of just wasted potential. Though I do think it does lead into my engagement with the movie throughout, but unfortunately then it kind of falls on its face when it doesn't really have much substance to it later on.
Yeah, exactly. How long did we have to wait between, like, fucking the Evangelion Remake 2.0 and 3.0, though? It was, like, fucking 10 years or some shit like that. I'm sure we'll get a new one of these in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like yeah. The fucking 3.0 plus 1, I think, was, like, a decade gap between 3.0.
Oh, my God.
This definitely felt like a Hideaki Anno film. Like, if Nico didn't tell me it wasn't him, I would have known within, like, the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, just the way everything is cut together immediately is like, oh, hang on, this is him.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys can depict who does what with movies just based on cinematography or whatever. I'm sitting here like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
It's a skill you work over time.
Yeah, some of these artors are rather... They've got a very distinct style.
I'll take your word for it. I've only watched like 300 movies or whatever the fuck.
I'm pretty sure this is the only live-action Anno film I've seen, so I am certainly excited to see more. I do think it's interestingly directed. It goes... But this is one thing we haven't really talked about, is like the cinematography in general. He is just addicted to just these random-ass fucking camera angles like every 10 seconds.
Yes.
It works in its favor a little bit because a lot of this movie is pretty dry in its substance, and when they're changing the camera angle to like some random shot on the bottom of a fucking table or like the floor or like some random corner for no reason, it does certainly make it more interesting. It's like watching a Mr. Beast video or trying to keep your attention. It's jangling keys in your face. It is a little over the top, and I'm sure if you weren't, I don't know. I think it's fine for the most part. I like it, but I definitely could see it being pretty off-putting to somebody that's familiar with the style, and they just think it's kind of annoying.
Me.
But there's a lot of shit like that. The cinematography is very interesting in this movie, is how I would describe it.
I would also be guilty of saying it that way. Also, what's up with the fucking ass slap? Like, I don't think I get... Is that...
That was literally them just trying to do quirky anime shit in real life.
Yeah, that's just how fucking all Japanese productions are. This is just what they do in their shows and stuff.
They know their
so.
general life is boring as fuck, so they try to implement actual, like, interesting, fun little whimsy things in their films to, you know...
I didn't want to chalk it up to that, but I'm glad, I guess, in the end, that's what it was.
I love that she became a giant woman. Oh my god.
Thank you, that second alien, I forget the name of, that deleted all the images of her.
Very funny.
The mechanics of that make no sense, but you know, I'll just trust the guy. Hopefully nobody printed out the images on paper or something and
Or
kept
you're
physical
fucked.
copies.
Yeah.
Either way, though, I can't wait for all of our answers to be revealed in Shin Kamen Rider. That one's gonna be sweet. I can't wait. Anyway, do we have anything else to say about this one?
I was gonna mention,
No.
based on you saying that, I am afraid of what Shin Godzilla is gonna be now. I was really looking forward to that. I'm hoping that it has nothing to do with the title of this movie, but I fear that is not the case.
They're all in the same universe, Dylan.
No, that's not true. They're just Shin. Basically, they're just using it to mean it's like a reboot / reimagining, I guess.
It means they killed the original, and this is the new one to take its place. What you loved is gone.
We didn't talk about this aspect of the movie, that being that Ultraman looks completely fucking stupid, and I think it's hilarious when, like, the main lead woman's like, it's beautiful. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, Ultraman looks sweet as hell.
He's okay.
All his attacks are super stupid and goofy. Like, I know they're trying to pay homage to the original Ultraman because that's just how they did shit back in the day, but like, it looks fucking terrible nowadays, and mostly just made it a very unserious film for the most part.
But it's also so
Just with
cool,
the-
though.
I don't think it's cool at all. I just think it's
Dude,
funny.
when he shot the big beam against that first monster, come on.
I mean, yeah, the explosion of it afterwards was interesting, but like him doing the stupid T-pose and then a laser just spawning in the middle of that is dumb as shit, and which just
I
looks
mean,
goofy.
hold on. In Nico's defense, I did think the first time I saw that it was pretty cool. Every time after that, though, I can't say the same.
Alien shenanigans, funny. I think it adds some brevity to this movie, which is needed, given it is pretty dry.
Yeah.
Anyways, I would say I generally do like this movie, actually. I liked it more than I thought I would, and I am excited to watch sequels to it, under the assumption that with all this world building they're doing, it will lead to a more fleshed out and focused plot line in the second one, hopefully.
Yeah.
Copium.
Maybe you'll just have to go ahead and download all of the old, not Kamen Rider, all of the old Ultraman shit, and just watch those instead.
I'm sure it's probably dog shit, so I'm totally fine. Sorry, Ultraman fans, if you're listening to this. I have no faith in that old-ass fucking media, to be honest.
Ultraman fans are fucking numerous. I don't think they're as toxic as like Western fans are, like Steven Universe fans, but they are fucking everywhere. Like when we were in Japan, just every figure shop we'd be in would have a fuckload of Ultraman figures everywhere.
Funny.
Alas, the Japanese population is aging at a rapid rate, and they all are very aware of Ultraman because they're all experienced it in their
They
youth.
all saw him IRL.
True, they saved
was
him.
real.
Or he saved them.
They saved each other.
Anyways, I'm staying at a B.
I'm gonna stick it at my
Dude,
B-.
I did forget to say, I think it's very funny that in the lore of the world, monsters only appear in Japan.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world is just like, man, that's fucked up.
Get fucked.
I mean, I'm sure the rest of the world's totally fine with it. It sounds like they're profiting hell off of Japan constantly
it
buying
makes sense
weapons.
though, because they literally said that the only reason the monsters are there because he was trying to draw Ultraman out.
True. I'm gonna stick with my B.
I'm also just gonna drop to a B.
It lands at a B.
Yeah, it lands in
smokes.
B. Look at that.